Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're broadcasting from the Thomas K. McKeon Center for Creativity, and I'm your host, Corey D. Taylor. My guest today is an author as well as an Emmy Award-winning producer. He is none other than Jim Stovall. Jim Stovall is the producer of the movie, The Ultimate Gift. He is here to share his amazing story and journey with us. So if you want to be inspired, look no further, because this is Oklahoma Upclose. Hello and welcome back, and thank you for joining us. We are here with none other than Jim Stovall. How are you, sir?
I am great. It's wonderful to be with you.
Man, thank you so much for coming. You're quite the character. I was seeing you had me laughing before.
Well, not compared to you, but I'm just glad to be here, you know.
Well, that's good. Well, I am excited to have you here because I had an opportunity over the years to see your movie, The Ultimate Gift. And let me tell you that the movie is profound, and it touched my life, and it was so awesome to see this movie. And I want to ask you a question. Where did you come up with the premise for The Ultimate Life?
Well, you know, originally I had written 6 or 7 books before The Ultimate Gift, and they were all nonfiction, business books, success secrets, things like that. And the publishers kept wanting more and more books, and I'd written everything I knew and a few things I only kind of suspected. So I thought, if I'm going to write another book, I better make up a story. So I thought about the principles I wanted to share. And at the time, one of my colleagues at Narrative Television Network, Kathy Harper, was facing terminal cancer, and she made me guardian of her teenage girl. And, so we spent a lot of days talking about when she gets to be 16 and starts driving, tell her this, and when she goes to college, tell her that. So I think those thoughts of somebody passing along their values after they were gone kind of stuck with me. And I made Red Stevens a billionaire, and what he wanted to pass on to Jason. And then after that, I wrote The Ultimate Life, and I kind of wanted to see where did all this wisdom come from. And right now we're doing the 3rd movie in this series, The Ultimate Legacy. And, the movies have given me the opportunity to reach an audience I never would have reached. I have 30 books now in print with over 10 million copies sold. But there are, even with 10 million books out there are people that will never read a Jim Stovall book, but they'll go to the movies. And so it's just, to me, I'm not in the movie business or the TV business or the speech business or the book business. I'm in the message business.
Okay.
And these are all just different vehicles for me.
Wow. So let me apologize, because I said The Ultimate Life. I've seen both. I've seen The Ultimate Life, and I'm holding The Ultimate Gift.
Well, great.
And I've seen The Ultimate Gift. I actually watched it again last night. And yes, I love the storyline. I love the storyline about the young lady and about Red making his grandson have all these challenges to inherit what was going on. And then I saw The Ultimate Life, which was a continuation of that. And so with all of them, are you producing every last one of those, or is it partnerships? I know that you did The Ultimate Gift, but are you in a partnership with a bunch of different people?
I am in a partnership with Rick Eldridge at RealWorks, who produces the things, and then we have a distribution partnership with 20th Century Fox, and they put the movie out. And then we have a TV partnership with the Hallmark Network, and then we have overseas partnerships. So, the movie business is unique. The book business to me is black on white, ink on paper. You dictate it and it goes out. It's my book, my story. But when you go to make a movie, my book turns into our movie. And there are literally hundreds of people working on our films this summer. We're actually doing 2 movies at the same time this summer. And hundreds of people, and they all have their creative input. And it's kind of like, hey, your kid grew up, and they go out in the real world and they get their own identity, and they take on new characteristics. And honestly, sometimes when you turn your stories over to people like James Garner or Bill Cobbs or Brian Dennehy or Peter Fonda, people that are that talented, they bring things out of your characters that you hadn't even written there. So it takes on a life of its own.
Yes, I really love that because Brian Dennehy is one of my favorite actors as well as James Garner. And man, they did a phenomenal job bringing those characters to life. It wasn't extra, it wasn't over the top, it was realistic, it was great. Now, I want to ask this question because you did all of this. And are you originally from Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah, I was born and raised here in Tulsa, and I travel a lot, but when I'm home, I'm here, and chose to stay here and make my home here.
Now, my question is this, like, how did you, like, was this something when you were younger, being here in Tulsa? Mm-hmm. Did you set out to say, okay, I'm going to be this popular, famous person, or did you, I mean, what drove you to, like, doing what you're doing right now? Because, I mean, you're doing some amazing things, and I'm an admirer of what you've done so far. But where did that come from when you were a younger kid? What drove you to do the things you're doing?
I had ambitions, but none of them resemble what I do today. When I was a young man, I wanted to be an All-American football player and then make my living in the NFL. And I had the size and the speed to do that, and that's where I thought I was headed. And then one year during a routine physical, I was diagnosed with a condition that would cause me to lose my sight, and I instantly realized there's no blind guys in the NFL. Few referees were a little worried about, but there's no blind guys right there in the NFL. And I realized I got to do something different. So I discovered Olympic weightlifting, and I became a champion and got to finish my athletic career doing that. And then started my company that's here in Tulsa, the Narrative Television Network, and we make movies and television accessible for 13 million blind and visually impaired people across the country. We add extra soundtracks to movies and TV shows in between the dialogue so that blind people can access those. Well, out of that, I was asked to make a speech at the National Association of Broadcasters, and at the end of the speech, I was asked to make another speech and another speech, and all of a sudden I find myself on tour with Dr. Robert Schuller and Dennis Waitley, and they encouraged me to write a book, and I wrote one, and then two, and then the next thing I know, I wrote a novel, and then the movie company called me and said, we would like to turn your novel into a movie. And so I'd like to say I had, Corey, I sat home, I had this big plan I mapped out to do all this, but it was just the next thing, and then it all comes together.
And your story is so amazing because I didn't know all of the details around you losing your sight, but can you take us back to a time being a young man wanting to play football, had these other aspirations? What was it like during that time when you got this diagnosis that you would be losing your sight?
Well, it's almost like somebody died. I mean, you had this dream, this goal, and now that's not going to happen. And, I had to go through that whole process of, I was in shock, and then I was grieved about it, and then I was depressed, and I moved into this little room in the back of my house. I had a little 9 by 12 foot room with my radio and my telephone and my tape recorder, and that's where I lived. I thought I'd never leave that room again. I mean, the thought of traveling millions of miles and speaking to millions of people in arena events or writing books or running a TV network or my syndicated columns or sitting here and talking to you, that was as foreign to me as going to the moon. I couldn't imagine it. And so it took me months just to get out of my little room. So, I always like to tell my audiences that please don't judge possibility based on where I am now. Let me tell you where I started. And you've never met anybody more broke or scared or depressed or discouraged than me.
Wow. So what got you out of the room?
Encouragement from a lot of friends, some great audio books, and then just the reality, I think when you finally hit the bottom, no matter what it is, and I always hasten to tell people, my problems are no greater than anybody else watching us now, whether they're going through a divorce or lost their job or having a financial problem or whatever the case may be. We're all only as big as the smallest thing it takes to divert us from where we ought to be. But, I was sitting in this little room and, when you think about where you're going and what you're doing, I realized whatever it is out there I'm afraid of can't be any worse than spending the rest of my life in this little room.
Wow.
So I decided to get out of my room. And, the first day I got out of the room, I didn't make millions of dollars or write a best-selling book or make a movie. I walked 50 feet to my mailbox.
Wow.
And that was the day that changed my life. Because I thought, okay, if you can do this, then what can you do? What's next? And what's next? And, and I still do that today. I mean, people ask all the time, when did you get over this? I'll let you know when I do. I mean, it's still dark and scary, man.
Right.
But you do what you do.
Wow. So when you were on your way from your room to your mailbox and you got out there and you accomplished that and you said that if you can do this, what else could you do? Then did you go into weightlifting?
I had been in weightlifting before I went totally blind. I had about a 6 or 7 year period where I was partially sighted, then legally blind, then totally blind. During that time, I had my weightlifting career. And then after I woke up and was totally blind, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I got really frustrated because I was a huge fan of classic movies with Humphrey Bogart or Jimmy Stewart or those guys. And I had a real huge collection of these on home video, and I was frustrated because I couldn't enjoy these films anymore because I couldn't see them. And I thought, you know, if somebody would just add a soundtrack to these, and, you know, say, you know, Corey slowly walks across the room, he shakes Jim's hand and sits down, and, you know, kind of like you do when you do a radio broadcast of sports. I thought this would make television and movies accessible to millions of people, and that was the beginning of my company, Narrative Television, and out of that came all my books and speeches and movies and everything else.
Wow. So when you started Narrative Television based on this idea, now you talked about you'll let people know when you get, you know, it's dark
Right.
and it's scary. When you went to start that had to be a scary undertaking as well, because here it is, you know, you've lost your sight and now you're telling, was it hard to convince people that you were legitimate, that you were real about what you were getting ready to do, or did people kind of blow you off?
Oh, okay. It was hard to convince them I was legitimate, and they thought it was a joke. I mean, you call people up and tell them I do TV for the blind, you're going to get a lot of dial tones, you know, and that happened to me. And I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but, you know, once I get something in my mind I'm convinced of, I can be pretty tenacious. So I just, you know, I don't go away. And, you know, and people used to make fun of us, that's fine. And you know, success needs no explanation and failure bears no excuse. I mean, you don't even have to go back and tell those people I told you so. Just, you know, get your Emmy Award, your best-selling book, and, you know, do a movie that, you know, write a series that grosses $100 million, and, you know, they'll find you.
Wow.
Takes care of itself.
So while you were going through this whole situation, was there a point where you said, okay, like I'm really out here, I'm doing well? Did you ever have a time where you were kind of at ease in Zion, where you kind of relaxed, or did you always feel like I got to keep on moving?
Always looking for the next thing. Still am.
Okay.
Still am. I have 3 books I've already written for this year and 2 that I finished that'll be out next year, and I'm still looking for my next thing. And you know, it's not about the money anymore. It's about, you know, every writer wants to write his great Gatsby, or, you know, that one Hemingway, that one F. Scott Fitzgerald. Everybody wants to do that. Everybody wants to have that one masterpiece that, you know, 100 years from now, people will say, that's what he did. And I believe people in the arts should never totally get there. I mean, you should die still trying to get there.
Wow. Now, you just said something, and I want to kind of ask you this question. You said that it's not about the money anymore. Did there ever become a time where it was about money?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have this habit of eating and wanting heat and air conditioning and, you know, those sorts of things. And, yeah, I mean, that's the reality of most people who want to get into TV or movie or books or whatever, is how do I make a living doing this? And that's a difficult part. And, you know, I'm thankful for a lot of things every day, but one of them is that I get to make my living doing things I enjoy doing.
And, you know, that's so interesting that you said that, because a lot of times when people in our climate today in so many arenas, when someone says that they want to do it for money, they're instantly demonized. But like you just said, I heard a speaker say one time, money is important. It's up there with air and water,
yeah.
You know, and he was like, without that, you know, you can't do that. And me being a speaker as well, there are so many times where people want to throw guilt trips, like do it for the kids, through it for this and this. And I'm like, I got 4 kids that need to eat and they're going to college. So
Right.
I'm so glad that you're saying that, because a lot of people think that in order for you to do good, money can't be associated with that, or neither should it be associated. So what is your take on that when you first started, when people were trying to ask you to come out and speak, how did you deal with the whole financial stuff?
Well, in the beginning, I was just hoping somebody would sit still long enough to hear me. Now I make more money than a family of 4 in Oklahoma makes in a year for an hour on stage, and I feel very blessed. But but it's still about the message. I mean, see, people have to understand money is not a destination. It's a vehicle. It'll get you where you want to go. Money doesn't give you anything but choices. You put it in the hands of the right people, they'll build, works of art and parks and hospitals and great things. You put it in the hands of wrong people and we're all in trouble. And, and a lot of people, they'll sit around and say, I want to make more money. The only people that make money work at the Mint. They work at the U.S. Mint and they print dollars. The rest of us, Corey, we got to go earn money. Yes. And the way we earn money is we create value in the lives of other people. So people that worry about money never have any. If you'll worry about how do I create more benefits for more people, you'll have all the money you ever wanted.
Wow. So now let me go back to The Ultimate Gift. When you were making that movie, how much input did you have on it when you were making the movie? Or was it one of the things that, they said, great, we have your book, we're going to write the adaptation and get out the way?
I have been in the TV business now for 25 years, working with networks and the cable systems, and I see what they do to some people's books when they turn them into movies. I've had 6 of my books turned into movies now, and I have control of the script and all of those things until we make the film. Now, I certainly allow my partners a lot of creative license. And, there's never really been a point where we argued about what are we going to do or not do. And I always believe everybody wants to make the product better. But to just turn loose of my baby and let somebody else put my name on it and their ideas, that isn't going to work.
Wow. So let me ask a question, because I know some people that's going to view the show, they're going to wonder this. In your state of losing your sight, were there ever times where people just tried to take advantage of you or tried to get over?
Yeah, there are. There's times they say, well, obviously you don't know or you can't tell or whatever. Yeah, I know exactly. A young lady here in the studio with us today, Kelly Morson's my marketing director. She designs all of my book covers. She does all that. But I'm pretty involved. I give her, here's my vision for this book cover. I see this and this and this. And then you got to trust people like her enough to go make it happen. And the same thing when we're on the set, when we're making a movie. I have to trust my partners that it's going to come out the way I wrote it.
Wow. So now you wrote a book, I believe it's called You Don't Have to Be Blind to See.
Yeah, that was my very first book.
Yes, and that was, and the reason why I learned about you, because a friend of mine, Dave Hale, he had given me that book a long time ago, and he told me about you and told me to read the book. And so I want to talk a little bit about that book, because when you did your first book and the title was so interesting, You Don't Have to Be Blind to See, why did you come up with that? How did you come up with that premise for that book?
Well, what I did, I was at an arena event where I was speaking out on the West Coast, and we were doing a 3-city tour of the West Coast before we came back this way. And I was working with Robert Schuller and Dennis Waitley, and Dr. Schuller stopped me backstage and said, I think you ought to write a book. I said, I can't read a book. Why should I write a book? Made no sense to me, but they introduced me. I went out on stage. I did my hour. I came off stage, and Dr. Waitley's there, and he said, hey, while you were out there, we worked it all out. I thought he meant the ground transportation to the plane. I didn't know what we were talking about. And I said, what'd you work out? And he said, well, while we were out there, Dr. Schuller called his publisher, and I agreed to write the foreword to your book, and we need a manuscript in 90 days.
Wow.
And that's how, so I came back to Tulsa, and I wrote my experience of losing my sight and not playing football and becoming a weightlifting champion and starting my television network. And all the lessons I had learned through losing my sight, But then I told people, you don't have to be blind to see what I'm telling you here. You know,
Right.
you can get it anyway. You know, a lot of lessons you can learn from being blind, but better to get them out of my book than go through it yourself. You know,
Correct.
So that's what kind of the premise of that book.
Wow. So now that you have, was it 6 movies? 6 movies that are, I mean, 6 books that have been turned into movies.
Yeah.
And now, when you do that, are you producing all of those? Like, is you and your partners that are producing? I mean, because this is phenomenal to me that here it is, you're right here in Tulsa, and so many people feel like they have to leave the state or go all these different places to make it. And here it is, you've done all of this right here from Tulsa. So when you're doing all 6 of these movies, is it you and these partners, or are you just now starting to, you know, let other people do the movies, because that's a lot of work to get done?
Well, there's, for all 6 of them, there's a different format for each. I've made 2 of the movies here in Tulsa, The Lamp with Academy Award winner Louis Gossett Jr. and A Christmas Snow, and we shot those right here in Tulsa. And my partner was Tracy Trost at Trost Moving Pictures.
Yes.
And we had a great partnership, and I believe we'll work together again on some other projects. I've done 3 projects with Rick Eldridge at Real Works. Then we just finished up a movie this summer. They're in post-production now, called Nouvelle Vie. It means new life in French. And we shot most of the summer up at Winona Lake, Indiana, on a little town looks like Mayberry. And then they'll finish shooting that in Paris. And that came to me from Drew Waters, who starred in one of my last movies. He played the young Red Stevens in The Ultimate Life. And he came to me with this story. He said, would you write this story into a book that we turn into a movie?
Wow.
And so that was the nature of our partnership. So it's different in every case.
Man, so what does it like when you wrote your first book? When did your books become bestsellers? Like,
The Ultimate Gift was my first bestseller, and it took a while. I mean, I put this book out and it just laid there. I mean, nobody wanted it. I couldn't get arrested on this book. And then all of a sudden it started to take off, and I had a guy from Amazon called and says, what are you doing to prompt these 100, 200, 300 book orders you're getting out there? People are ordering tons of these books, and I didn't have a clue. And finally, a young lady who answers our phones came back to my offices. There's a guy on the phone, said he bought 900 of your books, and can he have lunch with you? Well, anybody out there, if you ever want to have lunch with an author, that'll get you lunch with Stephen King, John Grisham. You buy 900 books, you get a lunch.
right.
Well, I sat down with this guy, and I found out he was a financial planning attorney and an estate planning attorney, and he was giving these books to his clients. And I found out that the financial services industry all across the country was giving those books away. So it took a year or two, and then that book really took off and sold in the millions. I had a book out last year called The Millionaire Map, and it's just my story about business success, creating wealth, and what you do with it. And, it became a bestseller quicker. I mean, it's in a different category, a more narrow business category of book.
And so basically, to this day, yes, the guy bought the 900 books, but you really don't know how that book just took off. It's just some people just got it, and you didn't do a heavy marketing plan or anything like that. And you said it's just sitting there.
People ask all the time, Corey, what do you do to have a best-selling book, or make a hit movie, or be a high-priced speaker, or get a syndicated column? It's tell a phenomenal story. If you can tell a phenomenal story, the audience will find you. Everything else is just bells and whistles and gimmicks. But and all those things are great. Creativity is great. All the technology we can bring to the television and movie industry, all that is great. But if you don't have a wonderful story underlying that with characters that people care about, you got nowhere to go.
Wow. So when people do business with you, because I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm amazed, well, how do people classify you as a business person? Or are you like, man, he's hardcore business? I mean, how do people classify you as a business professional? Because you seem to be pretty phenomenal, but how do they classify you?
You know, I usually, by the time they come to me, I own the property. I have the book or the story or the whatever it is. So we're mostly working on their end. I think if you ask my partners, they would tell you 100% of the time my word's good. I've never done business with anybody that wouldn't do business with me now. I think they would tell you I'm all about our audience, my consumers, the people that read my books and watch the movies. People think you're in charge when you own something. Now, everybody that's got $8 or $10 to buy movie tickets is my boss.
Right.
And they get to decide what matters and what doesn't. So I think my partners would say that. And then, you know, you have different relationships with them all. You know, with Tulsa's own Tracy Trost, he's a creative person more than a business guy. And we've had several great business partnerships, but it's nice to have a guy to share the creative part with you. Other people, they're just flat out business partners. They have no other agenda.
Wow. So I heard you talking about other things. So in your mind, what is the biggest thing that you're trying to accomplish?
I am in the message business, and I'm here to tell people that you have one God-given right. That's the right to choose. You can be, do, or have anything you want. You change your life when you change your mind. And you're one quality decision away from all those things. And whether it's in my books or my movies or my speeches or my weekly columns or sitting here talking to you, I want people to leave not being impressed with Jim. I want them to leave thinking, man, what could I do? That's the whole message I have, is this is all great for me, but what does this mean to you?
Right.
Because if my story doesn't translate to other people, or if the stories I write about Red Stevens or Sally Mae Anderson or all the other characters I write about, if they don't translate to other people, it's just entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with entertainment. I mean, one of my business partners, one of my movie partners always said, if you can tell a great story, you earn the right to share your message. There's too many people out there, they want to shove their message down your throat, and they haven't earned the right to do that yet.
Wow.
You better make me care about your story. You better make me feel good about your characters. Then you can tell me a message.
Wow. So in about 15 seconds, for our viewers, if you had to tell somebody something very quickly, what would you tell them would help them to be able to have success?
You change your life when you change your mind. You become like what you think about all day. And anytime you don't think that works, you dial 918-627-1000. You tell the young ladies that answer the phone around the clock, Jim told you so, and I'll call you back every time.
Well, Mr. Stovall, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you've enjoyed our show today. I would like to thank our guest, Jim Stovall, for joining us. Think about this. Change is inevitable, but your attitude towards that change, it is always optional. Until next time, keep looking forward.